Good evening, it's Lisa Lovestone, Reiki Master and book reader. So I'm gonna read chapter 6 of the 4 agreements. I was just getting ready to do all this, and then I was like, at the same time I was pushing live video, or not live, but on camera. I'm like, oh, my hands are really dry, so I need to take care of that. When you're 60, your skin really gets dry, and so just gotta keep your skin moisturized and drink your water and eat your fruit, because fruit keeps you hydrated. Okay, let's see here. So we are on chapter 6, and I just want to say hello. I hope you're doing well, and remember, if you need a session, I can do long distance Reiki. Reiki is amazing for everything from head to toe, inside and out. So if you're having organ problems, emotional problems, need to heal, arthritis, breast cancer, please message me and let's do a one-on-one and talk about what's going on and see how I can help you. The cat was just attacking the dog. I thought that was quite funny. The cat is, how old are you? 15, 16, or 17. I can't remember which. Anyway, he's a beautiful orange cat right there. You can see him. See his tail. There he is. Yeah, he's old, but he's pretty spry. Attacking the dog at the moment. Oh, quit hanging your head. You haven't been hurt. God, what a baby. Big old dog afraid of a little cat that's old. Anyway, so if you need some Reiki, please message me. We'll do a one-on-one. And yes, I do Reiki to help pay my bills, but I also want to be affordable to everybody, and so I want to make myself affordable to you. If you need a oracle card reading, we can do a one-on-one oracle card reading that's just for you. If you want to hear from your spirit guides, I can get out my dowsing rods and we can have a little chit chat with your spirit guides, and they're not, how do I say it? The spiritual beings of the highest and purest light, they don't give us definitive direction. Because of free will, we have to make up our own minds. But we can ask them for guidance to help us kind of go in the right direction, or to tell us if we're on the right path, or I know that I did a card reading for a lady once. Her name also is Lisa, and she's thick-headed and stubborn, right? And And this was when I was first learning to do oracle cards. So, but I've always been on point, even from the very beginning. And the cards were very clearly saying, in not so many words, that it's more important to have a relationship with your daughter than to be right. Okay? These are what the cards are telling her. But what does she do? She has to be right. And she put a wedge between her and her daughter after her daughter had gotten married. Her daughter's autistic. And, but not stupid by any means. Not that any autistic person is stupid. What I meant was she's not, she's a very capable person, I guess I could say. Anyway, this daughter was pregnant and had, was married. I went to the wedding, and Lisa wouldn't listen to the cards. And they were pretty darn clear about is your need to be right so strong, so important to you that you would destroy your relationship with your daughter? She did it anyway. The cards were warning her. She did it anyway. One girl, all she thinks about is money. She just wants money, 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 right? So I did a card reading for her once. And she's like, am I going to get money? Well, that wasn't a very specific thing, and the cards can't be specific. But she did get a bunch of money, not the way she thought she would, or the way she wanted, but she became engaged to a guy who spent a lot of money on her. And during the time they were engaged, she got to do a lot of cool shit. She got a lot of nice clothes. And he bought her a house to flip. He paid for it. He made sure she had what she needed. And he said, here you go, when he broke up with her. You have a way to make yourself an income. Flip this house. Sell it. And, live by what you need and not by what you want. And buy another house and flip it. And then, he's like telling her, then after a few flips, you should be doing all right. Save your money or invest it. Does she listen? No. But she did end up flipping that house. Anyway, when he broke up with her, when he parted with her, he made sure she had the means to take care of herself. So when the card reading said she would have money, they weren't lying. She did. She did get a bunch of money, just not the way she wanted it. She wanted to win the lottery or get a big money falling from the sky or something. I mean, she just very, I mean, do I think about money? Yes. But I think about money for a lot of different reasons. Like, I'd like to spend more time with my son. He's in California. I'm in Georgia. I think about money in that kind of way. What it could do for me. I have that kitty colony. I would like to purchase some property and have a cat rescue, cat sanctuary. Yeah. Obviously, I would have myself one hell of a nice bedroom and bathroom and a nice kitchen and a nice garden instead of living in an apartment, right? So, but I don't know. So, card readings. My card readings are always on point, but I guess it's based on how you want to understand them, right? I'm better at the card readings now, and I'm more confident in feeling like I can tell you something and that I can intuitively help guide you. I gotta pull out my ponytail. At the end of the day, just don't want it up there. You probably hear that, the airplane. I'm near a small airport where rich people put their planes. There, that's better. Huh. Okay. Let's get on with this book. The Toltec Path to Freedom, Chapter 6, Breaking Old Agreements. Everyone talks about freedom. All around the world, different people, different races, different countries are fighting for freedom. Well, you don't need to fight for it. We need to stop fighting, right? But what is freedom? In America, we speak of living in a free country. But are we really free? I'm not. Not really. There's a lot of freedoms I don't have. If I wanted to have an abortion tomorrow, which I would never do, but if I wanted to have an abortion tomorrow, I don't know where I honest to God, don't know where I would go to get it. I've never had an abortion. It's just not something I could do. But I would never look down on somebody who did. Sometimes we feel like we don't have a choice and we get scared. So, are we free to be who we really are? The answer is no. We are not free. True freedom has to do with the human spirit. It is the freedom to be who we really are. What stops us from being free? We blame the government. We blame the weather. We blame our parents. We blame religion. We blame God. Who really stops us from being free? Us. We stop ourselves. What does it really mean to be free? Sometimes we get married and we say that we lose our freedom. Then we get divorced and we are still not free. What stops us? Why can't we just be ourselves? We have memories of long ago when we used to be free and we loved being free, but we have forgotten what freedom really means. If we see a child who is 2 or 3, perhaps even 4, we find a free human. Why is this human free? Because this human does whatever he wants to do. The human is completely wild, just like a flower or a tree or an animal that has not been domesticated. Just wild. And if we observe humans who are 2 years old, we find that most of the time these humans have a big smile on their face and they're having fun. They're exploring the world. They're not afraid to play. They are afraid when they are hurt, when they are hungry, when some of their needs are not met. But they don't worry about the past. They don't care about the future and only live in the present moment. Very young children are not afraid to express what they feel. When they are so loving that if they perceive love, they melt into love. They are not afraid to love at all. That is the description of a normal human being. As children, we are not afraid of the future or ashamed of the past. Our normal human tendency is to enjoy life, to play, to explore, to be happy, and to love. But what has happened with the adult human? Why are we so different? Why are we not wild? From this point of view, if the victim, we can say, from this point of view of the victim, we can say that something sad has happened to us. And from the point of view of the warrior, we can say that what happened to us is normal. What has happened is that we have the book of law and the big judge and the victim who rule our lives. We are no longer free because the judge, the victim, and the belief system don't allow us to be who we really are. Once our minds have been programmed with all that garbage, we are no longer happy. This chain of training from human to human, from generation to generation, is perfectly normal in human society. You don't need to blame your parents for teaching you to be like them. What else could they teach you but what they know? They did the best they could, and if they abused you, it was due to their own domestication, their own fears, their own beliefs. They had no control over the programming they received, so they couldn't have behaved any differently. There is no need to blame your parents or anyone who abused you in your life, including yourself. But it is time to stop the abuse. It is time to free yourself of the tyranny of the judge by changing the foundation of your own agreements. It is time to be free from the role of the victim. The real you is still a little child who never grew up. Sometimes that little child comes out when you are having fun or playing, when you feel happy, when you're painting or writing poetry or playing the piano or expressing yourself in some way. These are the happiest moments of your life, when the real you comes out, when you don't care about the past and you don't worry about the future. You are childlike. But there is something that changes all that. We call them responsibilities. The judge says, wait a second, you are responsible. You have things to do. You have to work. You have to go to school. You have to earn a living. All these responsibilities come to mind. Our face changes and becomes serious again. If you watch children when they are playing adults, you will see their little faces change. Let's pretend I'm a lawyer. And right away their faces change. The adult face takes over. We go to court and that is the face we see, and that is what we are. We are still children, but we have lost our freedom. The freedom we are looking for is the freedom to be ourselves, to express ourselves. But if we look at our lives, we will see that most of the time we do things just to please others, just to be accepted by others rather than living our lives to please ourselves. That is what has happened to our freedom. And we see in our society, in all the societies around the world, that for every 1,000 people, 999 are completely domesticated. The worst part is that most of us are not even aware that we are not free. There is something inside that whispers to us that we are not free, but we do not understand what it is and why we are not free. I can attest to that. So I talk about this sometimes. When I worked, right, like at a job, and let's just be more specific with my last job at CVS Pharmacy. Every day I went to work, I would get angry. I didn't want to go. I hated my job. It would make me kind of like hate my life. I had a bad attitude. I would make up my mind every day that I would try to be more positive at work. And sometimes an hour in, sometimes half of the day in, I just would be overwhelmed and, just like, so once in a while I'd have a good day at work. If specific people weren't there on that day, like 2 or 3 of the people weren't there, the day would go pretty well and I didn't hate my job. So anyway, but I felt like, God, there's got to be more to life than this. There's got to be more than getting up and going to work, getting up before the sun and going to work to a job that you fucking hate. And you're living in poverty while working your ass off. Right? Yeah. I make more money pet sitting than I did working at CVS. Of course, I make money doing Reiki as well, but I'm just saying, I make more money working for myself rather than working for a big, major pharmaceutical company. There is something inside that whispers to us that we are not free, but we do not understand what it is and why we are not free. Oh, and one day I said, something happened and I was like, no more. And I clocked out. I went to the back of the store. I emptied my locker and I left and I never went back. I was done. I was done. It's done with being treated like crap, disrespected. Yeah. The problem with most people is that they live their lives and never discover that the judge and the victim rule their mind, and therefore they don't have a chance to be free. The first step towards personal freedom is awareness. We need to be aware that we are not free in order to be free. We need to be aware of what the problem is in order to solve the problem. Can't solve a problem when you don't know what the problem is. Awareness is always the first step, because if you are not aware, there's nothing that you can change. If you are not aware that your mind is full of wounds and emotional poison, you cannot begin to clean and heal the wounds, and you will continue to suffer. There is no reason to suffer. With awareness, you can rebel and say, "This is enough." You can look for a way to heal and transform your personal dream. The dream of the planet is just a dream. It is not even real. If you go into the dream and start challenging your beliefs, you will find that most of the beliefs that guided you into the wounded mind are not even true. You will find that you suffered all those years of drama for nothing. Why? Because the belief system that was put inside your mind is based on lies. That is why it is important for you to master your own dream. That is why the Toltecs became dream masters. Your life is the manifestation of your dream. It is an art, and you can change your life anytime if you aren't enjoying the dream. Dream masters create a masterpiece of life. They control the dream by making choices. Everything has consequences, and a dream master is aware of the consequences. To be Toltec is a way of life. It is a way of life where there are no leaders and no followers, where you have your own truth and live your own truth. A Toltec becomes wise, becomes wild, and becomes free again. There are 3 masters that lead people to become Toltecs. First is the mastery of awareness. This is to be aware of who we really are with all the possibilities. The second is the mastery of transformation, how to change, how to be free of domestication. The third is the mastery of intent. Intent from the Toltec point of view is that part of life that makes transformation of energy possible. It is the one living being that seamlessly encompasses all energy, or what we call God. Intent is life itself. It is unconditional love. The mastery of intent is therefore the mastery of love. When we talk about the Toltec path to freedom, we find that they have an entire map for breaking free of domestication. They compare the judge, the victim, and the belief system to a parasite that invades the human mind. From the Toltec point of view, all humans who are domesticated are sick. They are sick because there is a parasite that controls the mind and controls the brain. The food for the parasite is the negative emotions that come from fear. If we look at the description of a parasite, we find that a parasite is a living being who lives off of other living beings, sucking their energy without any useful contribution in return, and hurting their host little by little. The judge, the victim, and the belief system fit this description very well. Together they comprise of living being made of psychic or emotional energy, and that energy is alive. Of course, it is not material energy, but rather our emotions, but neither are emotions material energy. Our dreams are not material energy either, but we know they exist. But are they? Our function of the brain is to transform material energy into emotional energy. Our brain is the factory of the emotions. And we have said that the main function of the mind is to dream. The Toltecs believed that the parasite / the judge, the victim, and the belief system has control of your mind. It controls your personal dream. The parasite dreams through your mind and lives its life through your body. It survives on the emotions that come from fear and thrives on drama and suffering. The freedom we seek is to use our own mind and body to live our own life instead of the life of the belief system. When we discover that the mind is controlled by the judge and the victim, and the real us is in the corner, we have just two choices. One choice is to keep living the way we are, to surrender to the judge and the victim, to keep living in the dream of the planet. The second choice is to do what we do as children when parents try to domesticate us. We can rebel and say no. We can declare a war against the parasite, a war against the judge, the victim, the belief system, a war for our independence, a war for the right to use our own mind and our own brain. That is why in all the shamanic traditions in America, from Canada to Argentina, people call themselves warriors, because they are in a war against the parasite in the mind. That is the real meaning of a warrior. The warrior is one who rebels against the invasion of the parasite. The warrior rebels and declares a war. But to be a warrior doesn't mean we always win the war. But to be a warrior doesn't, we may win or we may lose, but we always do our best. Remember, we always do our best. We always do our best, and at least we have a chance to be free again. Choosing this path gives us, at the very least, the dignity of rebellion, and ensures that we will not be the helpless victim of our own whimsical emotions or the poisonous emotions of others. Even if we succumb to the enemy / the parasite, we will not be among those victims who would not fight back. At best, being a warrior gives us an opportunity to transcend the dream of the planet and to change our personal dream to a dream that we call heaven. Just like hell, heaven is a place that exists within our mind. It's a place of joy, a place where we are happy, where we are free to love and to be who we really are. We can reach heaven while we are alive. We don't have to wait until we die. God is always present and the kingdom of heaven is everywhere. But first we need to have the eyes and ears to see and hear that truth. We need to be free of the parasite. The parasite can be compared to a monster with 1,000 heads. Every head of the parasite is one of the fears that we have. If we want to be free, we have to destroy the parasite. One solution is to attack the parasite head by head, which means we face each of our fears one by one. This is a slow process, but it works. Every time we face one of our fears, we are a little bit more free. I bought some Ceylon cinnamon in a package. I had to order it because I couldn't find any in town. Like, it's really expensive to just buy a little bit, so this was cheaper to buy a whole package of organic Ceylon cinnamon. And Ceylon cinnamon, you know how you hear about how you can use cinnamon to help with your blood sugar? Well, it's not the basic cinnamon that we're buying at the grocery store. It's Ceylon cinnamon. Ceylon. They're not the same cinnamon. They're two different cinnamon plants. And Ceylon cinnamon is the cinnamon you want. So I finally broke down and bought some. I made a cup of tea and added some cinnamon to it, and some turmeric and some ginger and some blue agave, and it's delicious. And I mean, I'm tasting cinnamon, but it's not the same. The flavor is nuttier, fruitier. I don't know. It's a little bit different. I like it. Okay, so every time we face one of the fears, we are a little more free. A second approach is to stop feeding the parasite. If we don't give the parasite any food, we kill the parasite by starvation. To do this, we have to gain control of our emotions. That is not always easy. We have to refrain from fueling the emotions that come from fear. This is easy to say, but it is very difficult to do. It is difficult because the judge and the victim control our mind. A third solution is called the initiation of the dead. The initiation of the dead is found in many traditions and esoteric schools around the world. We find it in Egypt, India, Greece, and America. This is a symbolic death which kills the parasite without harming our physical body. When we die, symbolically, the parasite has to die. This is faster than the first two solutions, but it is even more difficult to do. This is a symbolic death which kills the parasite without harming our physical body. When we die symbolically, the parasite has to die. This is faster than the first two solutions, but it is even more difficult to do. We need a great deal of courage to face the angel of death. We need to be very strong. Let's take a closer look at each of these solutions. The art of transformation, the dream of the second attention. We have learned that the dream you are living now is the result of the outside dream hooking your attention and feeding you all of your beliefs. The process of domestication can be called the dream of the first attention, because it was how your attention was used for the first time to create the first dream of your life. One way to change your beliefs is to focus your attention on all those agreements and beliefs and change the agreements with yourself. In doing this, you are using your attention for the second time, thus creating the dream of the second attention or the new dream. The difference is that you are no longer innocent. When you were a child, this was not true. You didn't have a choice. But you are no longer a child. Now it's up to you to choose what to believe and what not to believe. You can choose to believe in anything, and that includes believing in yourself. The first step is to become aware of the fog that is in your mind. You must become aware that you are dreaming all of the time. Only with awareness do you have the possibility of transforming your dream. If you have the awareness that the whole drama of your life is the result of what you believe, and what you believe is not real, then you can begin to change it. However, to really change your beliefs, you need to focus your attention on what it is that you want to change. You have to know which agreements you want to change before you can change them. So the next step is to develop awareness of all the self-limiting, fear-based beliefs that make you unhappy. You take an inventory of all that you believe, all your agreements, and through this process you begin the transformation. The Toltecs called this the art of transformation, and it's a whole mastery. So, the first step is to become aware of the fog that is in your mind. You must become aware that you are dreaming all the time. Only with awareness do you have the possibility of transforming your dream. The next step is to develop awareness of all the self-limiting, fear-based beliefs that make you unhappy. You take an inventory of all you believe, all your agreements, and through this process you begin the transformation. The Toltecs called this the art of transformation, and it's a whole mastery. You achieve the mastery of transformation by changing the fear-based agreements that make you suffer and reprogramming your own mind in your own way. One of the ways to do this is to explore and adopt alternative beliefs, such as the 4 agreements. The decision to adopt the 4 agreements is a declaration of war to regain your freedom from the parasite. The 4 agreements offer the possibility of ending the emotional pain, which can open the door for you to enjoy your life and begin a new dream. It's up to you to explore the possibilities of your dream if you are interested. The 4 agreements were created to assist you in the art of transformation, to help you break the limiting agreements, gain more personal power, become stronger. The stronger you get, the more agreements you can break until the moment comes when you make it to the core of all those agreements. Going to the core of those agreements is what I call going into the desert. When you go into the desert, you meet your demons face to face. After coming out of the desert, all those demons become angels. Say what? After coming out of the desert, all those demons become angels. I see you, Wheeler. Hey, kitty, kitty. Okay, so what was we saying? The 4 agreements were created to assist you in the art of transformation, to help you break the limiting agreements, gain more personal power, and become stronger. The stronger you get, the more agreements you can break. Until the moment comes when you make it to the core of all those agreements. Going to the core of those agreements is what I call going into the desert. When you go into the desert, you meet your dreams face to face. After coming out of the desert, all those demons become angels. Practicing the 4 new agreements is a big act of power. Breaking the spell of black magic in your mind requires great personal power. Every time you break an agreement, you gain extra power. Breaking the spell of black magic in your mind requires great personal power. You start by breaking agreements that are very small and require less power. As those smaller agreements are broken, your personal power will increase until you reach a point when you can finally face the big demons in your mind. For example, the little girl who was told not to sing is now 20 years old and she still does not sing. One way she can overcome the belief that her voice is ugly is to say, okay, I will try to sing even if I do sing badly. Then she can pretend that someone is clapping and telling her, oh, that was beautiful. This may break the agreement a tiny bit, but it will still be there. However, now she has a little more power and courage to try again and again until finally she breaks the agreement. That's one way out of the dream of hell. But for every agreement you break that makes you suffer, you will need to replace it with a new agreement that makes you happy. This will keep the old agreement from coming back. If you occupy the same space with a new agreement, then the old agreement is gone forever, and in its place is the new agreement. There are many strong beliefs in the mind that can make this process look hopeless. This is why you need to go step by step. Step by step, and be patient with yourself because this is a slow process. The way you are living now is the result of many years of domestication. You cannot expect to break the domestication in one day. Breaking agreements is very difficult because we put the power of the word, which is the power of our will, into every agreement we have made. We need the same amount of power to change an agreement. We cannot change an agreement with less power than we use to make the agreement, and almost all our personal power is invested in keeping the agreements we have with ourselves. That's because our agreements are actually like a strong addiction. We are addicted to being the way we are. That is the truth. I see people who refuse to change their behaviors, and it's like they're very addicted to it. They're addicted to being used. They're addicted to lying to themselves. Just like they're addicted to alcohol. We are addicted to being the way we are. We are addicted to anger, jealousy, and self-pity. We are addicted to the beliefs that tell us I'm not good enough. I'm not intelligent enough. Why even try? Other people will do it because they're better than me. All of these old agreements which rule our dream of life are the result of repeating them over and over again. Therefore, to adopt the 4 agreements, you need to put repetition in action. Practicing the new agreements in your life is how your best becomes better. Repetition makes the master. We talked about that in the last chapter. Repetition. Right? When we sing A, E, I, O, U, we say it 10, 20 times, and then we've got it memorized for the rest of our life. Repetition. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. We remember it for the rest of our life because we sang our ABCs to memorize it, right? When you sing something, you memorize it better. Oh. So I remember songs, right? Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. Right? I've known those words since the 80s. Because I sing it. We cannot change an agreement with less power than we use to make the agreement, and almost all our personal power is invested in keeping the agreements we have with ourselves. That's because our agreements are actually like a strong addiction. We are addicted to being the way we are. We're addicted to anger, blah, 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 blah. All these old agreements which rule our dream of life are the result of repeating them over and over again. Therefore, to adopt the 4 agreements, you need to put repetition in action. Practicing the new agreements in your life is how your best becomes better. Repetition makes the master. So write down the 4 agreements where you'll see them every day. The discipline of the warrior, controlling your own behavior. This is a big chapter. Imagine that you awake early one morning, overflowing with enthusiasm for the day. You feel good, you are happy, and have plenty of energy to face the day. Then at breakfast, you have a big fight with your spouse, and a flood of emotion comes out. You get angry. And in the emotion of anger, you spend a lot of personal power. After the disagreement, you feel drained and you just want to go and cry. In fact, you feel so tired that you go to your room, collapse, and try to recover. You spend the day wrapped up in your emotions. You have no energy to keep going and you just want to walk away from everything. Every day we awake with a certain amount of mental, emotional, and physical energy that we spend throughout the day. If we allow our emotions to deplete our energy, we have no energy to change our lives or to give to others. The way you see the world will depend upon the emotions you are feeling. When you are angry, everything around you is wrong. Nothing is right. You blame everything, including the weather. Whether it's raining or the sun is shining, nothing pleases you. When you're sad, everything around you is sad and makes you cry. You see the trees and you feel sad. You see the rain and everything looks so sad. Oh dear. I had a friend that I loved to go hiking with. I guess I say I love to go hiking with her because, well, we would have these long philosophical talks on our hikes. But it was hard to get her out to hike, and we might only go for 2 or 3 hikes a year, right? Because it was always too hot. It was too cold. Too hot, too cold. You know, there was always a reason. So, yeah, I mean, you can get really caught up in that. To be fair, it is hard to get out there and enjoy life when it's really humid, but me being the older person and more overweight than she, if I could do it, she could. Just saying. We're not friends anymore. So, when you're sad, everything around you is sad and makes you cry. You see the trees and you feel sad. You see the rain and everything looks so sad. Perhaps you feel vulnerable and have a need to protect yourself because you don't know in what moment someone will attack you. You do not trust anything or anyone around you. This is because you see the world with eyes of fear. Imagine that the human mind is the same as your skin. You can touch healthy skin and it feels wonderful. Your skin is made for perception and the sensation of touch is wonderful. Now imagine you have an injury and the skin gets cut and infected. If you touch the infected skin, it is going to hurt. So you try to cover and protect the skin. You will not enjoy being touched because it hurts. Now imagine that all humans have this skin disease. Nobody can touch each other because it is going to hurt. Everyone has wounds on their skin. So the infection is seen as normal. The pain is also considered normal. We believe we are supposed to be that way. Can you imagine how we would behave with each other if all the humans in the world had this skin disease? Of course, we would hardly ever hug each other because it would be too painful. So we would need to create a lot of distance between us. The human mind is exactly like this deception. This description of infected skin. Every human has an emotional body completely covered with infected wounds. Each wound is infected with emotional poison, the poison of all the emotions that make us suffer, such as hate, anger, envy, and sadness. No action of injustice opens a wound in the mind, and we react with emotional poison because of the concepts and beliefs we have about injustice and what is fair. The mind is so wounded and full of poison by the process of domestication that everyone describes the wounded mind as normal. This is considered normal, but I can tell you it is not. We have a dysfunctional dream of the planet, and humans are mentally sick with a disease called fear. The symptoms of the disease are all the emotions that make humans suffer: anger, hate, sadness, envy, and betrayal. When the fear is too great, the reasoning mind begins to fail, and we call this mental illness. Psychotic behavior occurs when the mind is so frightened and the wound so painful that it seems better to break contact with the outside world. If we can see our state of mind as a disease, we find there is a cure. We don't have to suffer any longer. First, we need the truth to open the emotional wounds, take the poison out, and heal the wounds completely. How do we do this? We must forgive those we feel have wronged us, not because they deserve to be forgiven, but because we love ourselves so much we don't want to keep praying for the injustice. Forgiveness is the only way to heal. We can choose to forgive because we feel compassion for ourselves. We can let go of the resentment and declare, that's enough. I will no longer be the big judge that goes against myself. I will no longer beat myself up and abuse myself. I will no longer be the victim. First, we need to forgive our parents, our brothers, our sisters, our friends, and God. Once you forgive God, you can finally forgive yourself. Once you forgive yourself, the self-rejection in your mind is over. Self-acceptance begins and the self-love will grow so strong that you will finally accept yourself just the way you are. That's the beginning of the free human. Forgiveness is the key. You will know you have forgiven someone when you see them and you no longer have an emotional reaction. You will hear the name of the person and you will have no emotional reaction. When someone can touch that, what used to be a wound, and it no longer hurts you, when you know you have truly forgiven, then you know you have truly forgiven. The truth is like a scalpel. The truth is painful because it opens all of the wounds, which are covered by lies, so that that doesn't make sense. Wait a minute. The truth is painful because it opens all the wounds which are covered by lies, so that we can be healed. I guess healed in a different sense. These lies are what we call the denial system. It's a good thing we have the denial system because it allows us to cover our wounds and still function. But once we no longer have any wounds or any poison, we don't need the lie anymore. We don't need the denial system because a healthy mind, like healthy skin, can be touched without hurting. It's pleasurable for the mind to be touched when it's clean. The problem with most people is that they lose control of their emotions. It is the emotions that control the behavior of the human, not the human who controls the emotion. When we lose control, we say things that we don't want to say. That is why it is so important to be impeccable with our word and to become a spiritual warrior. We must learn to control the emotions so we have enough. Sorry, I'm yawning so much. I need to go to bed. This is a long chapter. Oh boy, I'm not going to make it. Okay, I don't have a pen. What I can do, wow, I read a lot. What I can do is put my bookmarker there. Okay, I'm going to finish chapter 6 another time. I'm not going to say tomorrow because I don't know what tomorrow brings. Okay, well, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I've owned this book for years and years and years, and I never got to the end. I'm finally getting to the end. Yay! Oh, victory! Okay, well, remember the 4 agreements. Never assume. Be impeccable with your word. Oh, God, I'm too tired for this. All right, what are the 4 agreements? Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. Right? Okay, people, this is Lisa Lovestone saying good night and blessings to you. Bye.